Hi there, and welcome to the US Web Design System monthly call for the last monthly call of the year, December 2020. My name is Dan Williams, and I'm the USWDS product lead. Thanks for being here. We've got a big new release to debut today with new features, improved components, and a whole lot of bug fixes. So first, I'd like to mention that we're recording this monthly call, and as always, we post these recordings to YouTube. So please refrain from turning on your camera. We will manually turn off any cameras to ensure the recording doesn't show us on camera. We'll be posting links and references into the chat as we go along, and I encourage you to ask questions in the chat at any time. If any member of our team can answer your question in the chat, we'll do so. Otherwise, there'll hopefully be some time for question and answer at the end of the hour. Also, be sure to introduce yourself in the chat as well. Your name, where you're coming from. It's nice to know who's here. It's good to have everyone here today. And with that, let's get started, because we've got a lot to show. First, some nice new site launches. And then we'll start to dig into our most recent release, USWDS 2.10, and look at some of the smaller improvements and bug fixes contained in this release. And then we'll finally bid a fond farewell to our banner flash issue with something we're calling the USWDS initializer. And finally, and the main event really, we'll take a deep dive into the new emergency response-oriented features we're introducing in USWDS 2.10. And if we manage to stay on track, we'll have time for some Q&A at the end. So let's get cracking. First up, site launches. We've got 5 great new sites to show off this month. First, oig.justice.gov. A new site from the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of the Inspector General. Then fletc.gov, who knows, maybe it's called FLETC, I hope not. fletc.gov, the Federal Law Enforcement Training Centers. And helpwithmybank.gov, from the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, a site that provides information and assistance for customers of national banks and federal savings associations. And the Newborn Screening Information Center. And finally, BIA.gov, fantastic new site for the Bureau of Indian Affairs and the Bureau of Indian Education. Very nice. So great work, everyone. Again, if you have a project you'd like featured at a monthly call, give a shout out now in the chat or anytime on our public Slack, and we'll include it in the monthly roundup. So let's get going with USWDS 2.10. So as evidenced by this giant font, this is a big one. And it just released this morning. We did it. So what's inside? We've got 4 new components included in this release. Collection, which you may have recognized as something we talked about last month as preview list, now called collection. Process list, site alert, and summary box. And we've got 4 components with big or otherwise notable updates in this release: checkbox, icons, radio buttons, and table. And then 3 new templates as well, all focused on authentication. Create account, sign in, and sign in with multiple sign-in methods. And there are 13 more notable bug fixes and improvements. A bunch of stuff got better in this release. Let's go through them pretty quickly. So one thing we did was we improved the non-auto prefixed state of colored icons. So I don't know if you've ever noticed a USWDS icon that appears like as a rectangle instead of its proper shape, like in the banner. This is because some USWDS icons, when we apply a custom color to them, to get that effect requires running your compiled CSS through auto prefixer to display properly. Using auto prefixers has always been one of our compile requirements, and it's important to use auto prefixer to provide the broadest browser support for your sites. But I admit that that requirement is not super obvious unless you read the developer docs, but they're in there. We're posting the link in the chat. So anyhow, if you're compiling your CSS but you're not using auto prefixer, that icon appears as a rectangle instead of the proper colored icon. So now with this bug fix, you still kind of need to use auto prefixer, but now if you don't apply auto prefixer, the icon will just appear as a black icon instead of as a rectangle. But use auto prefixer when compiling your style sheets. If you see those rectangles, auto prefixer is the culprit. Oops, sorry. We also improved the accessibility of decorative images in the banner. We modified the banner to properly mark up SVG files that are used as decorative images. So now all the decorative images up there are hidden from screen readers, and all the SVGs in general are more resilient to browser bugs. You can see the banner page on our website for the complete kind of correct markup that we're using now, and see the release notes if you want even more details on what we did to address issues with SVGs and decorative images. We also created a Spanish version of the search component, so you can say hello to Buscar. We also fixed a typo with the Spanish link to USAGov in the identifier. The correct name of the Spanish USAGov site is USAGov en Español, not USA.gov en Español. So if you're using the identifier, it'd be good to update that so it uses the proper name for USAGov en Español. We also fixed a bug that means you can now properly set a custom value for your theme bold weight. Previously, the design system was just ignoring any custom weight you would put in for bold and just setting the value of bold to bold. Now, if you want your custom bold for the font that you use to be 500 or 600 instead of bold, you can set that and it will actually work properly. And we have another bug we fixed another bug that prevented the file input component from properly parsing files of some file types with drag and drop. So if you set file input to accept multiple file types and you try to drag multiple files onto file input, it could cause some quirkiness, which it no longer does. And now visited links have a proper hover state as well. Better late than never. And that's not all. We also now allow developers to enable and disable the file input component programmatically. We have better support for buttons that include multiple variants. So if you have a USA button, that's also an outline button, that's also an inverse button. All of those various combinations work better together. We also now support buttons in the side navigation. We actually already kind of supported some buttons in there, but if you had a link button in your side navigation, that could cause some trouble, and now it no longer does. We also fixed a bug that prevented custom hex colors. If you had a theme setting with a custom hex, prevented that custom hex from flowing into the file input. Into the file input styling. So now custom hex works properly with file input. We made some improvements to font display in the identifier. Previously, some of the elements in the identifier were set to display in a light font, but that was sort of unreliable. And also, we don't really want to require teams to have a light version of their font, so we changed that to regular. And we improved. We made an improvement to the breadcrumb code so that it fixed a weird bug in breadcrumb padding where and I know it sounds unusual, but if you had a certain value set up for the width of your focus indicator, certain focus indicator widths would break the breadcrumb. And now that does not. A bunch of nice edge cases and not so edge cases addressed in USWDS 2.10. And so, like many of these improvements and bug fixes started as issues or pull requests that come in from the community, and we really depend on your engagement to know when things aren't working, particularly with some of these different kinds of edge cases. Like, it's really important that you bring things up as an issue or as a pull request, and thank you for doing that. And finally, we have a solution to suppress the annoying and potentially search engine rank penalizing flashing and shifting content in the banner. You may have noticed this on your site or on others that include the banner. For a fraction of a second, and sometimes more, depending on the page and network connection, you can see the text of the banner accordion flash open and then disappear again. You may have also seen this with drop-down menus in the header navigation as well. We've seen it too, and we did not like it. So the fix is a small bit of code called the USWDS initializer, or USWDS init. And to explain what this does, I'll briefly walk through why we see this flash at all. And the simple reason is that we want all our content to be readable and available, even if JavaScript doesn't load. So accordions, like the banner is a specialized type of accordion. They render with their content open, and then JavaScript comes along later and closes it up. If there's no JavaScript, the accordion doesn't close. But there's a gap. There's a time gap between when the page renders and the JavaScript loads, because devs include USWDS JavaScript at the end of the body element, as they should. So the body renders, you see that little, banner open. At the end of the body, the USWDS JavaScript loads, and the content is hidden. So there's this flash. So USWDS init is a very small piece of JavaScript that's meant to live in your document head and load before the body renders. And its job is to put a special loading class on the HTML element and wait for the main USWDS JavaScript library to show up. When the main USWDS JavaScript library does show up, init removes the loading class. So components like the banner use this special loading class as a styling hook to visually hide the hidden content until the regular JavaScript takes over. So in the best case, with JavaScript, the initializer loads, it adds this loading class. When the body renders, that loading class hides the content of the banner. And then when the USWDS JavaScript loads, that loading class is removed, and the JavaScript takes over and continues to hide the content and makes that banner interactive. So if JavaScript isn't present, USWDS init doesn't load, and the content defaults to visible. If JavaScript is present, but the USWDS JS doesn't load, after about 8 seconds, the initializer removes that loading class, and the content reverts to visible. So yeah, if your USWDS JavaScript didn't load, but the initializer did, you see the page load with the closed banner, and then after a number of seconds, that banner would then open up. So that takes care pretty much of all the different kinds of cases involved with pages loading with different situations with the JavaScript. And the result is, at the end of the day, that you don't see a flash in the banner, and you don't see flashes of undesirable content in things like drop-down menus, which If you've sort of gotten used to that flash on your own site, it will feel very, very satisfying to see it go away. So this initialization file is called USWDS init.min.js, and it's found in the same place in the package as USWDS.js. It's a little file. It's less than 1K in size. And if you add it to the head by reference or inline for even better performance, you can say goodbye to that banner flash. One caveat, I guess an important caveat. This requires both USWDS 2.10 CSS and JavaScript to work. So if you're not able to be sort of up to date with this, you may have to sort of re-engineer this solution for yourself. And if you do, please check out the code and let us know if you need help with this. But it's a good solution. We've tested it in a number of situations, and it works very reliably, and it's very nice to see that flash go away. And that's the hopeful end of banner flash in the design system. So, sort of more to the main event. Last month we talked about some of the research we did around emergency response and the components we'd identified as a starting point for the design system to address emergency response needs. So this month we have released USWDS 2.10 with the following, and it's literally true, new and improved components. So this includes site alert, collection, summary box, process list, mobile and data tables, improved icons, sign-in template and guidance, and checkbox and radio button tap tiles. So to show how these components work together and in combination, we set up a demo site that roughly approximates how teams might use these components in the service of emergency response. We know all too well the seriousness of our current crisis, and we know that teams are working hard to deliver critical services and accurate information. So we wanted to be extra clear in our demonstration today that the crisis we're using as a model is not real. It's zombies. So thankfully, the CDC and Department of Defense already use zombies as a model to help popularize and demonstrate preparedness. We've adapted some of the CDC content from their site and used it as the basis for today's demo. And while our intention here is to be obviously fictitious, it's definitely not meant to minimize the suffering and scale of any real crisis. So to help me navigate through our zombie preparedness scenario, let me introduce Mitch Moccia. He's an engineer and a contractor on the USWDS Accelerator team. Hey, Mitch.
Hey, Dan. Hey, everyone. Great to be here.
Good to have you here, Mitch. So you are going to be driving our demo, and I'm going to be attempting to narrate. And certainly feel free if I'm missing something, Mitch, to jump in and point something out. But I think what we're going to do is you're going to grab the screen share. You can bring up the demo, and we will take a look at some of the first stuff. So this is our zombie preparedness demo site, and we're going to start by taking a look at Site Alert, which is a way to communicate urgent site-wide information. So when your agency has urgent information to share with the public, it's important that it stands out from other content on the site. So a site alert prominently displays critical time-sensitive warnings or directions across every page so that users see it whenever they visit the site or wherever they enter the site. And then so using a similar kind of site alert treatment across agencies also will help create a consistent and predictable way for users to find urgent information across all government websites. So there's our site alert banner up there at the top, and the nice thing about site alert in a way is that it doesn't do too much. Like it's not interactive. It's pretty solid. It just kind of gives the message that you need. But there are a few things that you can do with a site alert, and we're going to look through a couple of them. So part of our guidance with site alert is that you shouldn't have multiple site alerts. A site alert should convey the important messages in a single alert. So right now we have a couple call to actions in this sort of condensed alert, but the site alert can also accept a more expanded presentation that could allow something like a bulleted list in the site alert. So right now, Mitch is commenting out the current site alert and adding a new site alert that has a heading in it, and it has a bulleted list in it. So the site alert can accommodate more information if your site requires it, and we certainly recommend putting any call to action you need in a single site alert instead of having a sort of Neapolitan ice cream of multiple alerts up there at the top of the page. Another thing we allow in site alert is there are a few settings for site alert, but one of the things is to change the color for the site alert. We've started with a red color that is not is too vivid. We do recommend not choosing colors that are really bright and vivid, like a real fire engine red, to try to tamp down on the sort of the way that those a really bright alert could be seen as panic-inducing. So we give some options to change the color of your alert to fit with a tone that you'd like to that you want to hit. So that's how you can implement the site alert, and those are some ways to change the site alert to make it fit with your site. And now I am going to jump back into anything that I missed was, should we, yeah, look at that mobile view, that it's all set up to be in the mobile view as well. Anything else I missed, Mitch, that you want to point out with site alert?
I think you covered it. The thing I love about it is it's so easy to update it. You know, you can update it to any one of the colors right here in an instant, and it updates it globally. So really great. Awesome. New component.
Great, thanks, Mitch. I'm just going to bring back to my things for a sec to just talk about the site alert. So, you know, when do we use site alert? We use it for critical system notifications. We use a site alert to deliver static system status update, like a notice about unavailable services or other kinds of content like that. These site alerts should appear like by default and not in response to an action. And the site alert is the kind of thing that you might see displayed on every page. When would you consider something else? If you were like responding to a user action, you would use a standard alert for sort of a page level validation message, like an error message, or to inform a user that a task was completed successfully or unsuccessfully, or for validating form input. This is something that should be considered more of a site-wide notification. So next up is collection. Collection displays a compact list of multiple items, related items like articles or events. So over to you, Mitch, for collection.
Okay, let me scroll down to that section. Here we go.
Yeah, so as we can see on our page here, we've used the collection for a couple different kinds of collected content, something that looks sort of more like an event, and something that's closer to a news feed. The collection is meant to collect similar kinds of objects. It's not meant to be just for events or just for news or just for documents. Collection can accept a number of different content types in a component. So in the calendar display, we see a content type that we have there as a calendar item, and similarly, it can also accept media to show on the side. It can show headers, and it can show descriptions, and it can show other kinds of metadata as well. There are different containers for showing metadata. In the media thumbnail over on the side, we see the metadata of sort of author and date, and also of tags. But it's sort of up to the implementer, just sort of which content types that they would like to show in their component. And maybe if we jump over to the editor, we can see sort of generally how these things are set up. So there's a USA collection, and inside that collection there are items, and there are a few different kinds of media types that can appear in there. One of them shows one that has a calendar date that has a time element within it. And then there are headings and descriptions. And then if we scroll down to the second collection, has metadata in the USA collection meta. It could either group them in one single collection of metadata, or this one has it grouped into two collections of metadata to be more descriptive about the contents of the metadata. The topics have their own metadata section. So there's a lot of flexibility in the kinds of content that you could put in a collection. But in general, the collection is meant to be a relatively condensed display of related documents or pages. And each one of them is really meant to, for the most part, have one big actionable link that folks can follow. In this case, the link that we see in the collection heading. So you could use it for a news feed. You could use it for an events feed. You could use it for a collection of related documents on a page, as we will see as we move a little bit more through this demo. And as Mitch is showing, that's how it will appear on a small screen. So when I jump over and share my screen again, we can look through when to use a collection. So one might use a collection to feature content with its metadata. It's a good option when displaying content that should be accompanied by metadata like tags, date, time, or source, and attribution. And you use a collection to group related content together. The collection can provide links to articles from a trusted source, popular guides and resources, a collection of pages that cover different aspects of a single topic. And you can use a collection to collect items from multiple sources. You could use collections when you want to guide users to additional resources that are available elsewhere. Collections help introduce themes that help users find what they're looking for, including even when it's not something that's on your site. And when would you consider something else? If you're providing like an archive of articles or pages, like if you're doing a page that was your like a tag page of all articles under this tag, or all articles under a certain topic, you wouldn't really want to put that into a collection. You want to consider limiting the number of items in each collection. Should be pretty focused to, I would say, around like 6 or fewer items. If you need to allow users to search or browse a larger content catalog, you probably want to just set that up as a separate page, like as an archive or index page. And if you want to display like large images or other media, that's the case for maybe using the card component. Collections are meant to be compact. If you need something with large images or other media, that, as I said, is a good case for card. It has a bigger footprint and provides more flexibility with different content types. So the next thing we're going to look at is summary box. A summary box highlights key information from a longer page or displays next steps. And with that, Mitch, you can grab the screen again. So yeah, as we go through to page 2 of this demo into more of a content page, we can see how a summary box might work. I think one of the best uses for a summary box is just really to appear at the top of a longer page. It is essentially a TLDR box. So a summary box would collect sort of the main points of a longer document and call them out typically as anchor links to elements that are further down in the document. If you use the summary box potentially at the bottom of a page for next steps, obviously they wouldn't be anchor links, but to other things that you would do after reading this page. But here we have it. Here we have it set up as at the top of the page as a TLDR summary. So with the summary box, like other components, there are settings, and we can just look at a little bit in the summary box settings around changing some elements like color. So just like with the site alert, you can change some of the settings in the summary box, and a lot of things, and there's some things set up to make it simpler. So if we look at changing a few settings like the box background color and the border width and the border radius, you know what we might do here, Mitch, instead of base lighter there, why don't you change it to ink? We can see if we change it to ink with no border width, no border radius, this should transform the summary box from that sort of a look to one that is a bit more dramatic. But the nice thing that happens when you do that is that the system is smart enough to know what color text and link colors to use on your background. So you can change the background in a lot of different ways, and the system is flexible enough to adapt the text color to something that is accessible. And we can show that on a mobile screen as well. And one slightly vaguely interesting thing to know about this element is that it has a special a link style on it that suppresses visited links for anchor links to that page. What we don't want is for folks to come to this page and make all of the anchor links at the top all have a visited state and make them look as though they've all been followed just because you've landed on the page. So that is meant to summarize page information and give some key action items for a longer page of text, and that is summary box. And I will jump into some of the usage guidance around summary box. So when you use summary box to summarize dense content. If your page contains a lot of information, use the summary box to call out 3 to 5 key details that readers shouldn't miss. And use it to highlight a short, actionable list. If a page describes a few steps or checklist of items to remember, you could collect them in a summary box. Just use a few items. A summary box is meant to summarize, so keep them short. When should you consider something else? For internal page navigation, like a summary box isn't meant to be a table of contents. If you're listing headings for internal page navigation, that's a case where you should probably just focus on using your side navigation, improving the side navigation to do that. If your page is short, you might not need a summary box to summarize something that is essentially already summarized. And if your summary needs more detail, like summary boxes should be short. When use them when there are you might want to use a different kind of list if you need more than just a couple bullet points. If they're more than 5, it's probably a different kind of list. If the bullet points are longer than like 20 words, it's probably a different kind of list. If the bullet points require like an image or a button or like complex interactivity, it's probably a different thing than a summary box. And for alerts or callouts, if you're highlighting something new rather than surfacing details from further down the page, use an info status alert instead of a callout box. So next we'll look at some of the improvements we've made to tables. Back to you, Mitch.
Okay, let me share my screen.
And there we go with a few different kinds of tables. So when using tables, we really want to consider the small screen experience. On mobile devices and other small screens, numerical data across many columns can be easier to understand if the table scrolls horizontally. But other kinds of tables, like a directory list, can be more readable if the rows display in a stacked layout. So if you're thinking about a table that has more than just a couple columns, we're now providing a few different variants that you can add to tables to provide a scrollable or stacked experience for that table, particularly on mobile. So here we can see a sort of long, complex table on budget data here, and we've set that up to scroll instead of trying to compress everything. So what we have not done with this table, and perhaps a further enhancement to that is freezing rows or columns. So if they aren't sticky, that could be a further thing in the future. This is sort of a baby step toward more complex tables. Right now, everything just scrolls together. And I think, as I saw just pop up in the chat, like, does the table use like table headers and row headers? Yes. So part of the markup and the markup guidance there is to properly use table headers properly scoped to rows or columns. And in fact, the table headers are sort of required to do some of the things that we would see in the stacked version of the table, because if we go over there into the contact list in the mobile view, we can sort of see how that changes into more of a the cells are collected into a stacked view. And in order to do that properly, each of the cells has to be connected to explicitly connected to a header with a data label attribute. So the headers need to be there for that stack thing to work at all. And so, as we see here, we have a couple different narrow screen options now for 4 tables, stacked and scrollable. We're also now beginning to provide a striped variant for tables and a compact variant for tables as well to reduce the row height and vertical spacing on a table. And yeah, what do you show in there, Mitch? There we go.
The stacked header version.
Yes, great. So what the stacked header version does is it takes the first element in a row and pulls it out and looks sort of like a header. It's just a different way to display that the same content there. And so I'll come back and jump in a little bit more into some of these tables and the variants that we have. So we've always had a borderless table. We still do. A borderless table can be useful when you want the information to feel more part of the text that it accompanies and extends, kind of reduces the sort of visual barrier between the table and the content. We also now have a scrollable table. You can add a USA table container scrollable class to a container around any USA table to apply a horizontal scroll bar if the columns exceed an available width. So that's good for dense tables that have a lot of columns. If you're having trouble fitting a big table onto a page, making it scrollable is a good first step. We also now have responsive stacked tables. These stacked table cells on narrow screens, and this is good for tables that contain really more text information than numerical data. As I had mentioned, if you use this variant, you have to ensure that there's a data label attribute on each cell of the table that connects to explicitly to a column header. And the stacked header variant stacks the table cells on narrow screens and promotes the first cell of every row into a header for that group. This is a good thing for a directory or other lists where the first cell of every row is something like a name. And then we now have a striped variant as well that applies alternating horizontal striping that helps the eye track across table rows. This can pair well with the scrollable variant for tables with many columns. And we also have a compact variant as well that reduces the row height and vertical spacing to display more table rows in a limited space. And in general, this is something that should be used more with dense numerical data and not text content. It also works well with scroll and with stripes, but you probably wouldn't want to use compact and stacked together. They're for sort of different purposes. And now the last of the new components, process list. And a process list displays the steps or stages of important instructions or processes. Mitch. Wow, that was fast, Mitch. Awesome. All right, so that is the process list. And the process list is essentially a fancy ordered list. And so the process list is there to take something that could be a standard ordered list and really just promote it into something that has more visual impact. You know, I see that you know, we're 15 minutes out. There are similarly things that you can do with process list to change its settings. You can change the color and the size of different elements. You can you can see there are a number of settings related to process list that can allow you to customize a process list to better suit what you need in your own site. But in general, use process list to really call out an ordered list and to really make prominent steps in a sequence. Anything else you want to show with process list, Mitch?
That pretty much covers it. I mean, there are a lot of configurable items here. changing the size of the connector line, colors of the borders, things like that. So very customizable.
Yeah, and the also the process list can also accept a fair amount of like rich content inside of it. It could just be a paragraph of text or a line of text. It can also accept inside of it a heading and text with it as well. So it's fairly flexible in what it can display. And so when do we use a process list? High-level sequential steps. You'd use a process list to create a clear hierarchy and help users easily differentiate between individual steps or stages in an important process. When would you consider something else? If you've got like a multi-page form or a wizard, that's probably a case for the step indicator component to help users work through a multi-stage, multi-page form. You'd use something else if you want to show current status or progress. That's another case for the step indicator. If you're trying to show in-page navigation, the process list is really for just like calling out stages and not necessarily explicitly for navigation. Use the side navigation instead. And you wouldn't want to use it if the steps are non-sequential. Use some other kind of a list. Use some sort of an ordered, unordered list if the steps are non-sequential. And you wouldn't want to use it if the content you're including in this list is just added to like improve the readability of a complex sentence. If you're breaking down your text and making it easier to read, like you probably wouldn't want to promote that kind of content into a process list. You probably just want to use a standard ordered list if something that's directly sort of goes in the flow of the reading text. So next is icons. So we made a number of changes to our icons in USWDS 2.10. In USWDS 2.10, we're updating our icon set and integrating it into the design system and including it in our package, meaning that a full set of icons is now built directly into the design system and available without any further installation or setup. And as we updated our icons, we did a lot of work to think about what we would need to do to update these icons. We analyzed icons, 10 icon sets across parameters like breadth, legibility, and appropriateness based on our own research and a lot of feedback that we got from the design system community. What were we looking for? Consistency, legibility, clear naming conventions, accessibility, existing usage guidance, an appropriate range of icon options, simplicity, attractiveness, relevance, variance, that they are built with SVGs, that they have emergency response options, and we really wanted to favor open source projects. So after this review, we ended up choosing the Apache 2.0 licensed material icons, which is what you'll see as we continue the demo. And let's go back over to the demo with Mitch. I'll also add, as Mitch does some of his demo work, that we still also have all of the icons that we already had in the design system. So if you were using something that was already built into the design system, that is still there and will not break when you update to USWDS 2.10. So we have full kind of backward compatibility with our existing icons, plus a new icon set that is easier to use and easier to integrate. Some of the things that we're beginning to see here in Mitch's demo are a component that we have not yet released, will be coming in the next release called an icon list. And I think we're not going to show any demos of the icon list to save time. But we're beginning to develop a list that is essentially a fancy bulleted list that you could use and put icons in instead of bullets. So what Mitch is bringing up here, I saw it sort of sneak over there, is our current guidance for icons. We've really beefed up the guidance that we have for icons on our website, and given a lot more tools for developers to take icons, build them into their project and choose choose the icon they need and add it to a project really easily without downloading a new font, without downloading a new set of anything. It's all built in and it's all sort of available in the default package. And we also have now a little bit more of a feature on the site where we not only have all of the icons here, but we are able to filter them to find a good icon for your project. And then if you go over and you hover on any of those icons and you select it, that will copy the necessary code to your clipboard to then just add that icon as an SVG element into your code. So you can see down here, and when Mitch pastes it in, it may not work as is. You will have to update the path yourself, because it's not smart enough to know how your project is set up. But it gets everything in there that you want for most cases of an icon. And there we see that that Mitch has added a minuscule smiley face there to the end of the FEMA.gov link. So so we now have a new and completely sort of integrated icon set in the design system. All of the icons are available in an assets folder within the design system package. They're also available and are compiled into a sprite that collects all of the icons into a single file, so that you're able to so that each one, once the sprite loads, the performance with the icons is very quick. And we include this group of default icons in the package, but there are also more within the package that you can pull into your own sprite. And we've built a sprite compiling module for gulp task, and that sprite compiling functionality is now built into USWDS gulp, which we've also updated to be compatible with Design System 2.10. So there's a lot that you can do with just the default icons we provide here, and there's a lot more you can do when you really dig into the package. And I see we're at 6 minutes out, so I'm just going to let's just keep rolling through here and sort of jump right into some of the authentication templates that we also have. So we've integrated some of these authentication templates into this demo, but they're also available on our website, just as we have templates for homepage and content page. So now we have authentication section in the templates, and those templates include authentication pages for sign-in, as we see here, and create account, and also sort of, we're not going to demo it here, but sign in through with multiple options for signing in. We've also really added to the guidance that we have on our site around authentication. There's a lot more to dig into now on the site if you have your own authentication solution. That said, one of the big pieces of guidance that we have in authentication is to really try to work in the direction of central services. Like, I think if you're dealing with authentication on your site, really look into something like login.gov, which begins to build all of this stuff into their own solution as well. So we want to give some more support for sign-in, but we also want to make sure that teams aren't always reinventing the wheel when it comes to doing sign-in. So one thing to point out with this sign-in here is that we're showing also one of the new variants for radio buttons and checkboxes, which is a tappable, more of a tap target based variant, which is down through. Anyhow, sorry, tap tile. So a tap tile for radio buttons and checkboxes. And why don't we look at it in the mobile view just to give a better look at that. And really what this does is it was really developed for mobile views and to make targets like checkboxes and radios more accessible in mobile. But really, as we've been looking through this and testing it, I think we do see that there are a lot of reasonable applications of this that go beyond mobile as well. So we don't say that you should only use this on mobile. I think that the larger tap target is useful regardless of the size of the device. So I am going to head over to my thing here, and I think, Mitch, was there? I know I kind of I started going a little bit fast here because I realized that we're running out of time. Is there anything that you want to bring up before I jump back?
Just that I think one of the most exciting features is the new icons and icon list. The forthcoming component will be, I think, highly loved, and people will really like using that. It's so easy to use. So look out for the icon list. It'll be released soon.
Yeah, I've been using these new icons during development and using all the new features that we have to add icons to different things, and it's been really, really helpful for me. And I'm looking forward to other people using this as well. So just as Mitch said, one of the things we have coming up next is icon list. We're also working on a component for attribution, for connecting content to its original source, and also for its publication dates and update dates. We're also working on a pagination component for sort of a multi-page things like search results or long groups. We're also going to be resuming the paused beta work that we paused to get this emergency response work out, and working on our 2021 blueprint and roadmap, what we're doing in the new year and into the future. So that was a lot. I'm glad we sort of got through it. In general, it's saying goodbye to 2020 and hello to 2021. It's the end of the year. It's the beginning of a new year. Really just thank you. Thank you everyone for being such an active and engaged community. You keep us honest and you keep us moving forward. And I know we're late, but we can head to the chat for at least maybe a question or two. So I will try to jump in and see what's in this chat and see if there's anything I can try to answer in the remaining moments. I have not paid attention to the chat, but let's see if we've got in here. So Lisa asks, would something like site alert be applicable in the case of a government shutdown to put that messaging up on the top of your site? And I think it would be. Yeah, I think that is an instance where that would be important. Joshua Wilson asks about web font icons versus SVG. While web font icons have their place, we are pretty much all in on SVG for a number of reasons, but we find that in general they are more accessible and more resilient. So we're focusing on SVG. Let's see. Let's see what Wade says here. Does the collection component require links? Interesting. As designed, we do consider the collection component as being link based, but let's see what. But maybe there is. yeah, would it make sense to use collection for status messages or changelog entries? It could. It could. I really and the team had thought of this as a collection of objects that were linkable, but I don't think that should prevent you from experimenting with different uses for it. We purposefully made the collection a collection and not a news feed or an event list or a document list to allow that flexibility. Is white text on black problematic for some? Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. There's different there is different research about like which is actually better for reading and readability, and there are some studies that show that white on black is preferable in some instances. That said, I think that's still I think that's a that's kind of a debatable issue, but it's worth further investigation. Is there move toward WebP graphic standard? I can't answer that right now, but I do know that one of the things that's definitely on our radar for the new year is like images. What is the design system doing about images and giving better solutions for including images, responsive images, other kinds of complex images in design system sites. So we'll probably be getting to that on what we would do for support like WebP. Are there plans to create patterns for sorting, filtering columns and tables? Not explicitly yet, but we definitely know that that's that's a need, and trying to fit it in and understand how we might get it into a roadmap. But we know that interactive table functionality like sort is something that we might want to work toward. Anything else that I missed? If you had a question that I missed and you really want me to answer it right now, retype it. And I'll get to it. Otherwise, I'm sorry that went so fast. There's a lot here, and I look forward to continuing this conversation on our various channels, in USWDS Public, in our GitHub repo and repos, through our website, etc. I'm hoping that next month, beginning of 2021, we might have a little bit in talking about journey mapping here on the monthly call. It's not nailed down, not in stone yet, but I hope we can do that. Thank you for being here with the design system in 2020. Thank you, Mitch, for helping me do this demo today. Thank you to the core team and the accelerator team for doing so much hard work to actually make this happen. And to the community, we really could not do it effectively without your support. Thank you.